Welcome to the stream, everyone. My name is Green Leader, and you guys are watching Green Squadron TV. Hope you guys are having a great Friday evening and having a great weekend, or at least getting ready to go into the weekend anyway. Yeah. So the plan for the day today is we're gonna go over a couple of stories. Well, not really stories, but I mean there was a whole bunch of trailers that came out this week, including an event that happened. Purna Interactive, so like the movie studio, they've got a video game division. They just put out a showcase event yesterday, and they showed off a whole bunch of trailers. We're not going to go over the whole thing, but we are going to kind of go over the differences between their showcase and the EA Play Live that happened the week before, which I absolutely hated. Not so much because of the content, but more because of the whole manufactured hype and just they don't know what the hell they're doing in terms of actually putting on an event, or at least that's in my opinion. I don't know. It just felt bad and felt very forced. And then after that, we'll be covering Blizzard and just kind of my thoughts as to, because I mean a whole bunch of stuff has happened since we last talked about it, and we talked about it last when the supposed leak came out, and is it Matt Klein or Mark Klein? I forget his name, but like one of the old heads of Blizzard who left a while ago, who was talking about, even though the leak was fake, a lot of the stuff in there is very true to life. More stuff has happened since then. Yeah, a lot more stuff has happened since then, and so I was just kind of wanting to talk about that more, about like where I see Blizzard going in the future and kind of what's actually going to happen to them. So, yeah. But before we do that, we're going to get into a little other story, more about getting back to that Netflix story of Netflix hiring EA, and then going into more video game based content and more actual game stuff. It's not so much an announcement of a game itself, but it's, they're actually, well, let's just go into it. So this is from Variety. Apparently Netflix has just announced that they're going to be doing a live action Pokemon series. It's right now in early development. They don't have a lot of information to tell us other than just, it's just some basics. And right now it's being headed up by the same guy who used to run Lucifer, or is running Lucifer. I think like it's the last season right now for that show, but they've also done a whole bunch of other shows as well. What's his name? Joe Henderson. But he's also done a whole bunch of other shows, including like White Collar, Graceland, 11/22/63. So he's somewhat known. I don't know how well known some of those shows are, but like I love Blue Collar, so I'm at least somewhat familiar with his work. And if you guys are familiar with Lucifer, you're probably familiar with his work. But I do find it interesting that they're actually creating a Pokemon live action series. Okay. A new Pokemon series. Sorry, just laughing at a comment from Tapok. A new Pokemon series is in early development at Netflix. Variety has learned from exclusive sources. Now, to be fair, this actually could very well just be rumor, because I don't think they actually say who the sources are, but they say it's an exclusive source. As the project is still in its early days, no details are available about the plot. However, sources say that Joe Henderson is attached to write and executive produce. Henderson currently serves as co-showrunner and executive producer on the popular Netflix series Lucifer, which is preparing to air its 6th and final season at the streamer. This is one thing that also just kind of makes me laugh. At the streamer? Who's the streamer? Netflix is not a streamer. Well, they're a streaming service. I'm a streamer. Netflix is a streaming service. I just think that's just kind of funny. Sources also say that the project would be live action series akin to Detective Pikachu film, which stars Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith. That was released in 2019. I don't know what to think about that, because I'm not a fan of live action takes of animated series, and I didn't see the Detective Pikachu film that came out, so I actually cannot judge the quality of that. And particularly as it's being a show, it is a little concerning that it is in fact trying to be live action, because generally with TV shows, they generally tend to have a much smaller budget. So their budget for like CG and all that sorts of stuff, it's probably gonna be a little lacking in comparison with the actual movie. So my only concern with that is not having it actually be animated. You're gonna get a lower quality CG animation than what you saw, say, in Detective Pikachu. I don't know that for sure, but that's just my opinion on that. Yeah. Reps for Netflix and Henderson did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comments. So here's the other thing. This could be completely not true. This is just rumor as it is for now. It's one of these secret sources, and so we don't know whether or not this is in fact actually true or not. But the reason why I find it interesting is that we know that Netflix got that EA exec to now sign up with them, and they're going to start pushing into making video game content and all that other stuff. But it looks like they're also going to be making television series based on video game franchises. So, like, if you see further down here, Netflix has also been making a strong push into the anime with recent years, having been previously announced original series based on Far Cry and Splinter Cell and the Terminator, obviously not being a video game property, but I know they've already done a show based on Castlevania, which I watched the first season. Was actually a lot of fun. It was very interesting. I haven't seen the second season, but I do find it interesting that they're starting to bring in more and more video game influences and video game executives, and I'll be very interested to see how they end up executing their plan in pushing forward with their gaming content and gaming related content. So I just thought it was an interesting story. I also think this is just weird. They're also planning on doing a live action One Piece and Cowboy Bebop. I don't get why the need to create a live action version of an animated show. It's never gonna live up to it, and it's always gonna be worse. Particularly as, like, the next line, they bring up the Death Note from 2017, the live action one that they made, and I didn't want to watch it because it just looks so bad. And yeah, everyone that I've seen that's talked about it says it's pretty bad. So but I just think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that they're moving more into video game related stuff, particularly with the Far Cry and Splinter Cell. Pokemon, obviously, that's been an anime for a long time. That really is just more of a disappointment that they're actually going to go live action rather than making their own animated series, but whatever. It's their choice. I'll judge it when it comes out. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with it. Okay, now that we're done with that, just as I said, thought it was an interesting story. Now that we're done with that, I did want to go to something that actually Debek5 brought up. He posted a video for the Halo Infinite multiplayer gameplay. This is apparently by BBKDragoon. I'm not familiar with this person. And there's a crappy ad here, so we'll just do that. There we go.
Everybody,
Hold on. Let's...
Yo, what is up, everybody? The very first Halo Infinite gameplay here on my channel. Check it out. I'm so excited. and I'm going to share with you guys my initial impressions here. I don't know if it's coming up tonight or if I'm publishing this tomorrow morning, but yeah, let's talk about Halo Infinite.
Looks
so
like you published
far.
this
Before we
yesterday,
get into
sir.
how the game feels, a few just high-level things. It took me like 2 hours.
Okay, so from the amount of footage I've seen so far, it just looks like more Halo. Nothing wrong with that. I appreciate Halo. I do. I like Halo. But it looks so far straightforward.
Hours of trying to get into Halo Waypoint to get my Steam code. We played on the PC, we played with controller, and the footage in the background is just from the matches I was able to get tonight. Yeah, just like 343 said, it is a rough build, and it can be pretty tricky to get into matches. So it was not the smoothest of an experience, and I really hope that they learn from this and don't funnel everybody to Waypoint, because the site was just choking super hard tonight. Now, with all that aside, after getting the thing installed, how does it actually feel?
I bet you they will still try and funnel people into
Pretty
Waypoint.
solid. I mean, I don't know how much you
Waypoint's
can tell
always
from just
been
playing against bots.
Waypoint has always been a bit of a disappointment in my personal opinion. Like they try to make it a Halo hub, but yeah, Waypoint's ridiculous. So the fact that they're trying to get you to get matchmaking through Waypoint seems a little weird in my opinion.
For a few hours, but man, that base.
Hopefully that's just for this beta rather than, I didn't even realize that they had an open beta yet.
Player movement speed feels exceptional to me. Sprint is not too fast, and alongside of it comes this slide that has a weight to it, but also not the same momentum crazy stuff that happened in Halo 5.
Slide?
It really feels like the team has spent a ton of time making sure that base movement feels fantastic. The other really cool thing I like is, yeah, this isn't a new engine, but it legit feels like a Halo game. Like, that actual feel, man, is right there. Aiming feels a whole lot better than it did in Halo 5. That was one of my biggest concerns coming into this thing is, oh man, is it actually going to play and feel like Halo? And it does. And it's a very hard thing to describe to you guys, but I mean, immediately it feels like a Halo game.
Hold on. I played Halo 5. It felt like Halo. I'm curious about his statements. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but like when I played it, it felt just like Halo 5 everything. Like Halo, regular Halo, everything. So okay.
In the menus, man, the thing is snappy. It's quick. A lot of the unlocks, how quickly things are just like loading. Even though it's a rough build and not all the icons are there, it feels good. I've got to say, you guys, the sandbox, immediately some of the things that stood out to me. This may be my favorite battle rifle in all of Halo. This thing slaps. The sound effects, the weight of this thing, the way that it just connects with the opponent. I am absolutely in love with it. Also, the skewer, maybe one of the greatest Halo sandbox additions in so many years, dude. It is wicked when a shot connects, and it just...
Oh, wow. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Good. The clamber is going to take me a little bit of time to sort of develop more opinions on. I didn't think it was detracting from the gameplay whatsoever, but it really felt like the maps were designed with it in mind. This map was intuitive. It was very easy to pick up. Instantly feels like a classic Halo map, man, or like a map that will be probably a staple within Halo Infinite. And that is all really good things, you guys, because first impressions super duper matter. Now, one of the things I'm not too terribly sure about how I feel on just yet is that new friend foe marking thing that's going on. So
yeah, the audio trying to ignore his speech and just listen to the audio. The audio actually does sound pretty good. It sounds very straightforward. It sounds like Halo. So, yeah.
And foe have an outline around them. And as you can see, like, it makes players pop really big. It's kind of cool for your teammates, like, to see where they're at on the map. And you can also change the color in the menu system, which is freaking sweet. And
here's the thing that I like about this, about that concept, is that actually, I can't tell you the number of times I have to tell myself when I used to play a lot of Halo, kill the blues or kill the reds, because the number of times that I would forget which team I'm on, be pretty much nearly every other match. It was bad. So I'm actually glad that they're doing this, such that no matter what team you're on, you always know which side's actually the enemy and which side's not. Now, is that going to give you some sort of advantage? I think so, sure. Because it's going to be a lot easier to make out enemy players. But I mean, it is what it is. But I'd rather have an easier time making out enemy players than constantly being confused as to which side I'm even on. So
changes with the scoreboard. However, it's a little weird. It's kind of an adjustment, man. And I feel like if you're trying to be a stealthy player, everybody just stands out heavily
Yeah,
with this.
and that was the thing that I was just trying to say. You know, it does kind of get in that sort of way of the game. But I mean, I understand. And as I said, I'd rather at least be able to make out what enemy is actually, what players are actually enemies and friendlies and not. Now, could they have done it a different way? Like maybe have a little, like what they do with Call of Duty, where you've got a little thing that highlights up over people's heads that, show, yeah, this is an enemy, this is a friendly, this is a, So the color outline might be a little bit much. They may change that. We don't know. But my guess is probably not. But who knows?
I don't know how I totally feel about it just yet. But this is, I think, their solution to allowing you to use whatever armor coding you want in these team matches. I'm not opposed to, red versus blue. It's the classic. But it is kind of cool to see your color scheme in the match. The commando rifle, man, this is the thing a lot of us saw in the campaign preview. Does not feel like what I thought it was going to feel like. It fires very quickly, and it's going to take me a while to get used to finishing off opponents. Breaking shields was easy for me, but finishing off and getting that last shot.
It looks almost like a burst rifle plasma rifle, if that makes sense. A burst plasma rifle. Which does not look bad.
It's going to take me a while to get really used to how this game performs on the sticks. Few of the weapons, the red reticle range feels really lengthy with, but at the same time too, it doesn't feel like a crazy heavy aim assist style game. It doesn't feel like the crosshair pulls as much as some of the more classic Halos. I guess like Halo 3 is kind of what I'm thinking, or maybe like Reach. But that in and of itself, it's going to take me a long time to
I actually hate that. I actually hate that crosshair pull.
The AR pistol starts.
Just how crazy the auto aim is in some of the Halo games. I always try and shut that stuff off. It just gets in the way.
Interesting thing, you've got little weapon pods on the map, and on those little weapon pods are curated weapons. And tonight, sometimes it was like a BR, and the other times it would maybe be the
It is a shotgun, okay.
But it seems like they're in curated sets. And so when you get the BR weapon pod set, you can sort of count on the other weapon pods being like those specific weapons. So it's not totally randomized from what I understand, and I'm sure they covered this in some Inside Infinite blog or something like that I forgot about. But yeah, it did feel like there are curated sets, which is kind of cool because it gives a little bit more variety to the maps themselves. So like sometimes they're an active camo over at the power-up spot, and sometimes it was an overshield, but that also translated and responded to what you were doing. So oh my goodness, long story short, guys, the game feels solid, and I'm going to be playing a lot more this weekend. If you get into the flight, fantastic, and just be patient, click through on the match button things. I will overall say, again, future flights, man, ditch the waypoint stuff, because that was extremely difficult for players to get in, and that was kind of frustrating, even though I was like very patient and looking forward to it. That was a big frustration.
That's interesting. That is actually interesting. I'm gonna stop it there. I'll actually leave the footage playing. It looks pretty good. It looks like straightforward Halo. It looks and sounds particularly like the audio design looks actually really good. I do kind of like the little outline. Well, I kind of agree with the YouTuber that I mixed feelings about it. It's a good idea. Maybe they don't necessarily need to do like a full outline, but I mean they could try and minimize that a little bit more and make it a little less obvious, or maybe have like a certain amount of line or distance requirement for that to even pop up in the first place. So at least you're not, you can't just randomly see your enemies from like across the field, if you do happen to have line of sight on it. So yeah. But yeah, it looks good, looks interesting, looks just like more Halo, so I'm sure it will just be, just by default good. Some of the new, like this rifle that he's using right now actually looks really cool. I like it. And that other like burst plasma rifle looks actually pretty cool as well. Same with that skewer weapon, very cool. So overall, I think it looks good. Looks like more Halo, and I'm always down for more Halo. It feels like it's been a while. So yeah, I have no complaints so far. Well, extremely small minor complaints. Okay. Well, now that we've checked that out, let's go ahead and go to the next story, which is really not really much of a story. It's just more of a game that I didn't realize even existed. It looks pretty cool, and it's a fully developed indie game, which I have to try and just show these off, just because as an indie game developer, I think it's actually pretty cool to see studios, small studios or one-man studios putting out games. And this one actually looks really cool, not just for visually, but for gameplay wise as well. There we go. So, Studio Ghibli inspired Baldo the Guardian's Owl gets an August release date. So the game is actually coming out in August. Since its reveal in the summer of 2019, Baldo, the Guardian Owls, has quietly risen to become one of the most anticipated indie games out there, and now it finally has a release date. I don't know how true this is, as like this week has been like the first time I've actually been made aware of it, but I think that's actually pretty awesome looking from what I've seen of it. The Zelda-inspired adventure with Studio Ghibli Visuals is launching on August 27th, so pretty much 1 month from now, almost. And this is actually going to be out. The adventure stars Baldo, a cheerful young lad who embarks on a grand adventure revolving around an ancient prophecy. Along the way, players interact with a cast as colorful as the game's vibrant open world itself. Gameplay consists of third-person combat, puzzle solving, and dungeon crawling in the style of classic 3D Zelda. In a 2019 interview with Red Bull, Baldo creator and artist Fabio Capone said the game, it isn't focused on combat mainly, although that's a big part of it, but it will share a lot of elements from the Zelda series. At its core, Baldo is a puzzle and dungeon game, although there are plenty of other secrets inside. So it looks actually like a really cool... Yeah, it does. It looks like a really cool Zelda game with Studio Ghibli style art. Now, from what I understand, it's not associated with Studio Ghibli. It's just the guy who created the game, created it in such a way that it actually looks a lot like that style. So he's taking a lot of his inspiration from it, and I think that's awesome because I love that art style. It's the Studio Ghibli films are probably some of my favorite films ever, not just in terms of anime, but just in terms of filmmaking in general. So very cool to see, and partly because of the art style. So it's very cool to see another game actually take its art style and just kind of run with it. So very cool. And I just wanted to check out this announcement trailer as well. So apparently it's going to be on the Switch. In fact, it might actually be everywhere, but I know for sure it's going to be on the Switch and I think PC as well. So I just wanted to check this out. It's actually interesting. You can very easily see that it took inspiration, but it's not quite the Studio Ghibli style. But it's very similar to it. It's close enough for me to, like, if I'm not like scrutinizing every single pixel on the screen, it's very much Studio Ghibli. Oh, interesting. Actually, it looks like it's going to be only on the Switch. That is actually pretty interesting. Hey, gives me another reason to play some more games on the Switch, I suppose. Nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, I think it actually looks pretty good, and yeah, it definitely has a gameplay-wise, it looks like it is very much like a Zelda game, but just with Studio Ghibli style art, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know what else to say other than I think they've done a pretty good job trying to recreate that art style. It looks like a very interesting little puzzle platformer adventure game, and I'll be very interested to check this out. This is definitely something that I'm gonna pick up. And as I said, it's always cool to see indie studios, you know, like really small indie studios actually coming out with something that's looks like it's quite ambitious in terms of like how much, you know, how big the game actually is or potentially will be. So, yeah, I think it's been pretty cool. I definitely want to check it out. So yeah. Okay, so from there, I wanted to check out another trailer. There's a new Left 4 Dead game by the same people who made Left 4 Dead. There's a new game called Back 4 Blood. It's in open beta. And is it an open beta? Yeah, it says open beta trailer. I don't know if it's... What I mean is I don't know if it's out yet in terms of the open beta, but still, this actually looks pretty cool. Sorry, gotta try and switch the scenes. So Back 4 Blood is essentially the Left 4 Dead 3 experience we've been hoping for. At least this is according to Game Informer. The same team that created Left 4 Dead is back with a new co-op experience, and no, the creator doesn't mind the constant Left 4 Dead tie-ins either. He told us himself, which they linked to an interview that they gave. We know that there are no microtransactions regarding the cards. We know that the PvP element, or we know about the PvP element, but now Turtle Rock wants players to dive once more to learn more about the co-op experience. Because of that, an open beta is just around the corner in addition to a brand new trailer. The open beta early access period kicks off August 5th, so it's just around the corner, not here yet. And will run until August 9th for those that pre-order the game or registered through this link. And they give a link to register. The regular open beta will continue on August 12th through the 16th for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC players. So pretty much everyone except for the Switch, because, you know, the Switch. Take a look at the latest trailer below, which I will gladly do so. I love actually Left 4 Dead. I'm a little sad they never made a third one, so... And I know these guys went on to do... Is it Evolve? I think they did Evolve. Let me actually just verify that. Turtle Rock Games. Yeah, they did. They did Evolve. Yeah, Left 4 Dead, Evolve. I don't think they did Left 4 Dead 2. I think Valve proper actually did Left 4 Dead 2. But still, I mean, very cool that they were actually able to do that, move on. I don't know how well Evolve was actually received, but I think this is more of a return to a more proper staple for them, and I think this is actually going to be pretty cool. So let's just go ahead and watch the trailer and just see how it turns out. Gosh, hold on, forgot to turn off the music.
Here they come!
Welcome to the fight.
Minigun?
I got your back. Let's go kill some Rick.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's actually pretty interesting. You know, just like with Halo, it looks like it's more Left 4 Dead. So I got nothing really to complain about. I love Left 4 Dead, and to see them essentially do more Left 4 Dead, I'm very happy for. Particularly, it looks like Left 4 Dead. I never played Evolve, but it didn't look or feel like Left 4 Dead, in my opinion. Just from what I've seen of the game. But this very much looks and feels like Left 4 Dead. Just looking at the content. So very cool to see them actually do another Left 4 Dead game. Looks like it's being published. I was actually curious if this was going to be independently published or if they were doing it, but it looks like they're doing it through Warner Brothers. It was actually kind of interesting. Warner Brothers have put forward some really good games over the years, from, you know, the whole Batman Arkham series, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. Arkham Origins was meh, but I mean, they handed it off to a different studio. It is what it is. But I mean, they did that, and then they did the Shadow of Mordor series, those two games, which both were actually really good. And now they're helping to produce this one as well. So Warner Brothers is doing a pretty good job with their interactive studio, so, or interactive publisher, I should say. So good for them. So yeah, excited. I'll definitely check out the beta. I'm curious to see just how close to Left 4 Dead it'll be, if they'll try and add new stuff, which it looks like they did. It looks like they did add some new stuff, so it'll be cool. This is also interesting. So if you pre-order it, you get an extra early access beta. But if you don't, I think there's a separate beta that's going to occur on the 12th or the 16th, from what they were saying. Yeah, for those that pre-ordered the game, the regular open beta will continue on August 12th through the 16th. Yeah. Okay. So the beta is going to include 2 maps, the Swarm PvP mode. So 2 maps for the Swarm PvP mode, 2 co-op maps to fight off Ridden with your friends, play as Mom for the first time, as well as other cleaners. Evangelo, Holly, Walker, and Hoffman play as 6 different Ridden variants, including Bruiser, Wretch, Hawker. Gosh, is that like a combination between the Smoker and the Spitter? Exploder, Crusher, and Stinger. Various weapons to check out, cards to build decks, and Ridden to slay. Interesting. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for another Left 4 Dead experience, and I think it's been too long since their last one, so I'm pretty happy for it. I mean, hell, it's been over a decade. 2008 was when the original Left 4 Dead came out, and I know it was like 2 years later they came out with Left 4 Dead 2. So, yeah. So I think it's about time we had another one, and I think it'll be pretty damn good. Okay. With that said, let's actually talk about Annapurna, as I said, the indie studio behind a whole bunch of different films. They have gotten into the business of publishing games, and they've been doing so for a while now. And they just had their first event, their first real like digital event, along the same lines as Sony's State of Play or EA's Play Live. They had what they're calling the Annapurna Interactive Showcase. And I gotta say, I wasn't disappointed. I was actually pretty happy with this one by comparison. Now, we're not gonna watch the whole thing, or really much of it, tonight. I just wanted to show it. We are gonna check out one trailer / gameplay trailer for it. But I wanted to bring it up more for the fact, or more for the use of comparing with EA Play's EA Play Live event that happened last week. And even though the games are a little weirder, there are definitely a lot of nuanced games in here, more like digital experiences than actual games in some cases. I think they handled the event considerably better than what EA Play Live did. They essentially, what they did was they started off the event by having a host, just somebody. I don't know who they were, but she basically popped on screen, introduced Purna as an interactive studio, and then basically said, "This is our first showcase ever. Here are some of the games and announcements, and just check it out." And then they went from trailer to trailer to trailer to trailer, with very small little gaps between, essentially introducing kind of like what you're going to see next, with very little fanfare. It's just straightforward to the content, and I love that. They handled their event actually quite well, and I thought they did an excellent job with it. So, whereas you compare that with EA Play Live that happened last week, they had a host who was doing his darndest to hype everything up. They had a minimal amount of actual content to show, and there was just so much manufactured hype that it just felt so forced and just kind of cringy. So if you want to look at examples of like how to handle your digital events, look at the Purna Interactive Showcase and look at Sony's State of Play, because they both essentially did the same thing, which is just, let's show you a whole bunch of trailers for stuff you might be interested in seeing, and just leave it up to you to decide as to whether or not you're actually going to be hyped for it or not. The other thing about their showcase that I noticed was actually their games are very much indie games. Now, they are, in fact, actually an indie film studio as well, so that actually makes sense. It feels along the lines of what they would produce in terms of films. So when it comes to them actually being a publisher of video games, they're actually doing the same thing, where they're basically producing indie games, which I think is actually really cool. I think that's really interesting, that the games that they showed. Now, are these games gonna be for everyone? Are they gonna be marketing to as many people as possible? No. I think a lot of these games are very niche and very interesting, but they certainly show a lot more promise than a lot of the stuff that I saw at EA, which really was just a lot of the same stuff that you see every year. And the only thing that I really cared about was the Dead Space remake and, Battlefield, which even then what they showed me for Battlefield was just disappointing. Whereas everything here looks interesting in some way, shape, and form. It's new ideas, it's new content, it's new types of stories, new types of games. And granted, they're all building off of existing stuff, but I mean, it's just story-wise and gameplay-wise, they're trying to do something different, and I love them for it. Whether or not I think they're going to be good or that they're going to be for everyone, probably not. These are probably all going to be niche games, as I said before, but I still think they deserve some praise for the fact that they're at least trying to show some cool and new and interesting stuff. So, with that said, let's actually go ahead and check out one of the trailers for the cat game. It's called Stray, and it looked kind of interesting. Like, you just basically play as a cat. This is just ridiculous. But I figured it'd be an interesting one to check out.
Hello everyone, my name is Swan, producer at Blue 12 Studio, and today I'm going to show you more about Stray. In Stray, you play as a cat who has fallen inside the mysterious and forgotten city. Separated from his family and injured, he will have to explore and survive in this unwelcoming environment.
Oh, he's not even using the back left leg. Oh.
From the cat's unique point of view, players must navigate their way through the dangers of this unfriendly place, and use the cat's skills to solve puzzles and uncover mysteries along the way.
Yeah, it looks really good. Aww. That is typical cat behavior, right? Just knocking things off of stuff.
Along his journey, the cat will meet a small drone named B12. Using the drone's ability to interact with objects in the world and communicate with the strange inhabitants of this secluded place, together they will work to learn more about the secrets of this forgotten community of human-like machines.
Interesting. I love how it actually does look and feel like it. And again, I'm judging based off of video here, but it does look and feel like how an actual cat would jump. It looks really good. And I agree with Gib. This looks like it's gonna be an amazing game.
Of course, the cat will always be a cat, and his adventures will be filled
Scratching
with
up the
friendly
furniture.
and playful interactions with his new world. But these machines are not the only inhabitants of the city, and some encounters will not be as friendly or safe.
Interesting.
Running fast, jumping, and using stealth to avoid dangers will all be vital
Oh
if you
my.
want to escape this city and be reunited with family.
What the hell are those things? Are they ticks? They look almost like ticks.
Unless you find a way to defend yourself, and the prey might become the hunter.
Whoa. Interesting.
Stray is coming to PS4, PS5, as well as PC in early 2022, and we can't wait to show you more.
So, Sony console exclusive, but available on PC as well.
Guys, there are better ways
Oh,
to
man.
get your bush ready for summer.
The brand new lawnmower.
No! Go away. Okay, oh man, it just, I swear, if you told a video game exec that people wanted to play just as a cat exploring the world, they would all laugh you out of their office. And this is why I actually appreciate that Annapurna does exist as a publisher, because they're focusing on actually indie games that are actually new ideas, interesting ideas, to the point where this might be probably the thing that I'm most interested in this year. Besides Battlefield. Battlefield I'm interested in just because it's a return to a more modern Battlefield. I'm happy for that. But in terms of actual hype, I think I'm actually more hyped for this than Battlefield. I'm more interested in this than Battlefield. That's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But this looks interesting. This looks fun. This looks weird. And I like it. I think it's very cool. And I feel like a lot of the games that I saw showcased in this Annapurna Interactive Showcase I was interested in a lot of them, and a lot of them didn't seem like, you know, typical video game experiences. They were very much indie experiences. In fact, many of them seem like just very much, you know, interactive stories more than anything else. But I mean, they looked good and they looked interesting. Like, there's a lot more creativity going on or going into this than what they did with Battlefield. And I'm super excited for Battlefield. A lot more creativity going into this than like anything Call of Duty's done in years, and a lot more creativity going into this than a lot of the mainstream games. So I'm very happy to see that these types of games do still exist. And who knows, this might be like a huge blockbuster game for Annapurna. On the other hand, it may not. So yeah, who knows exactly what's going to happen with this, but I'm actually very interested to see how well this does and what happens with Annapurna Interactive as time goes on, because my only concern with Annapurna is that it is yet another Hollywood studio getting into video games, and that's not necessarily a good thing, because Hollywood studios are in many ways doing the same things that a lot of the big game companies are doing, which is just they've run out of ideas, so they're just going off of stuff that they know is going to work. But then again, with Anna, as we said before, Annapurna being more of an indie film studio, they're already doing stuff that's considered different and interesting. So hopefully they'll be able to keep that type of mentality and culture up, because it at least does provide some variance in terms of what is available to actually consume in terms of movies and now games. So I appreciate them existing specifically for that. So yeah, it just looks good. It's just, I'm actually mesmerized just watching this footage, because it looks good. It's a little puzzle platformer adventure game in a very interesting world. And I think it's actually really cool and really interesting. Yeah, Debek 5 brings up an interesting point. I wonder what their budget was. I don't know. It looks like it's potentially a relatively big budget game. They've got a lot of animation, a lot of mocap from the looks of it, a lot of like artwork that's been put into like designing and creating this world. Yeah, I would be very curious to see what their budget was, because it looks really good. Looks really interesting. And I'm glad. Here's the other interesting thing. I did like every single game that they showcased looked like it was a essentially just a console exclusive, but available on PC as well, which I actually really enjoyed. So if you don't have one of the consoles that these games are coming out on, it is available on PC. Like every single one of these games were available on Steam, which I think is great, because I know personally for me, I don't have a PlayStation 5. I don't even have a PlayStation 4. So knowing that they're actually going to put this out on Steam as well does make me happy. So pretty cool, and I'm glad to see that, at least for them, that they're doing that. Okay, so if any of you have not been paying attention in the last week or so, last 2 weeks, shit has gotten worse for Blizzard, and in my opinion, it's not going to be getting any better anytime soon. So, as we kind of talked about a couple weeks ago, Blizzard had this quote-unquote leak. We don't know if it's true or not, but definitely one of the old studio heads came out and said that, essentially corroborating what the leak was saying. So whether or not the leak was actually true or not, definitely what it represented was very true to life, in terms of like how pretty much they view their gamers as essentially people who are just going to continue to buy their product no matter what crap they put out, and that they are essentially more business people than actually gamers anymore, which isn't inherently wrong, but it is going to lead to just bad games being produced by them. Anyway, that's just the lead up to this. What's happened since then is there was allegations of, and I don't know if this is the guy or not, maybe, it may not be, I don't know, but one of their top level managers was essentially at the center of some allegations about essentially harassment and forcing people into relationships and whatnot, essentially to keep their job, or at least that's the intimation. After that, there was a lawsuit that I think was announced last Thursday or Friday, and then there was an open letter from the Blizzard staff to their managers higher up saying this is unacceptable. You need to actually take, responsibility for this. Try and, put things right. And then there was a planned walkout, and then a bit of a woke SJW kind of takeover of said movement and trying to change what they were all about. And I'm not going to get into the politics of it all, but I'm more interested in what this actually means for the future of Blizzard, because in my mind, I feel like this is really the death knells for Blizzard, as for old school Blizzard that actually used to represent something really good in the games industry, to essentially this new Activision controlled puppet that Blizzard is increasingly seeming to turn into. And let me just give some predictions. I know I'm probably going to be absolutely off on this, but what I think is probably going to happen is Blizzard is going to try and settle this out of court as much as they can, and they are going to essentially, pay out to whoever they feel like they need to pay out to. They'll make some changes. They'll hire new departments, new HR BS departments that really are there to just waste time and money. Not really do much of anything, and then just continue to put out the same garbage they've been putting out for the last couple of years. And as I said, I think this is just the final death throes of the studio being the old studio that it was, and it's just going to be a shell of its former self, and it's not going to be anything that anybody wants, and we're just going to see a continued decline in their games. Unless something dramatic is going to happen, which I doubt. It's going to go more corporate. It's going to go more the way that Activision is, which is not a good thing, in my opinion. And you're going to pretty much see the loss of the heart and soul of Blizzard, and let's be honest, Blizzard already lost its heart and soul years ago when they merged with Activision in the first place. Well, merged. They were bought out. They were essentially bought out by Activision. So, and again, sorry about the shaky camera. I keep looking over, seeing the preview, and I see the camera shaking. Yeah. It's going to be a very different company moving forward, and we're just going to see a lot of disappointment over the next couple of years. And who knows, maybe Blizzard will end up breaking away, reforming, pushing stuff around, or what I think is going to happen is you're going to see a lot of like the old guard, like a lot of the really good producers and programmers and artists come together. They're going to build a new company, and they're going to try and essentially do their own thing and stay independent. And I really hope that they do. But man, this is just yet another example of why you do not allow a major publisher to buy you out. If you are an independent or smaller game studio, you do not allow yourself to be bought out, because this is the type of bullshit that ends up happening. You get bought out, you get used up, and then you either get hollowed out with more corporate assholes Or you just essentially get completely shut down and cannibalized by the other studios that are held by said publishers. So yeah, it's sad and disappointing, and particularly as somebody who's never really been into like a lot of their games, but I recognized them for what they were, which was just like a major player on the scene in terms of actually producing out good content and actually being about for the games and for gamers. To see them now fall down to these horrible lows of, you know, accusations of misconduct and you know, just horrible content being produced and resulting in essentially players leaving their service. I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where just people are just leaving WoW like in droves to go to other MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV and now a New World that's just been released. So it's really just a shame to see Blizzard fall this badly. And my opinion is I don't think we'll see Blizzard ever truly die or get defunct, but I mean they're never going to be the same. They're going to be a shell of their former selves, much like what they are now, just worse. So it is just a little sad to see, if not very sad. But yeah, guys, that's kind of all I have to say on it. I just find it interesting just to see kind of how this company has gone over the years, and just to kind of see where it's going. And this is just my opinion as to what I'm thinking is going to happen. I could be 100% wrong. They may turn things around completely. They may just purge a lot of their bad actors and come back ready to get back to business, but I doubt it. Particularly with, by the way, I didn't even realize this or didn't know about this until last week, but apparently with the lawsuit, they've actually completely shut down work on World of Warcraft. There are no developers right now, from what I understand, working on World of Warcraft until this lawsuit is actually handled. So yeah, it just kind of sucks. The whole thing does. So anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed this show, please consider hitting that follow button. If you guys are watching live on Twitch, if you guys have enjoyed the podcast and you're watching on YouTube or Odyssey, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Yeah, be sure to tune in at twitch.tv/green_leader87 to watch it live every Friday night at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to go to we're actually going to do an after show. So if you're watching live, you guys will get more kind of chatting. And if anybody is in the chat that, well, some of my usuals, like say Tape Huck or Alien King wants to come along, or Original G wants to come along and chat about kind of like what we were discussing and maybe about some news that they've heard about. Yeah, feel free to pop in and let's get talking. But anyway, for any of you guys watching on YouTube, have a great night. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys next time. This is Green Leader signing out.